Today, we are digging into what might be the most important accounting system on the entire planet. Seriously, it's a system that decides whether a forest flourishes or a desert grows. We're talking about the planet's water budget.
So I want you to imagine something. What if every single landscape, a forest, a valley, a whole river basin, had its own bank account, with income, expenses, and even a savings account for a rainy day, or, well, for a not so rainy day? It's a really powerful way to think about how water actually works in our world.
And that's pretty much what a water budget is. It's really just a straightforward accounting method that tracks the balance between the water coming in and the water going out of any given ecosystem. Think of it as nature's own bank statement.
Okay, so just like any budget, right, it all boils down to two fundamental things: what you're earning versus what you're spending. And in nature's water economy, these transactions are going on all the time, everywhere.
So here on the side, you can see the basic ledger. The income side is simple: precipitation. That's all the rain, snow, and hail getting deposited into the account. The spending side is this one big word: evapotranspiration. It's basically a two-for-one deal. It's the water evaporating from the ground and water being used up by plants. And trust me, it's the system's biggest recurring expense.
So when your income is higher than your spending, what do you have? You have a surplus. In nature, this is the profit phase. The soils get totally saturated, those deep groundwater reserves get refilled, and the rivers run high and full. The system is just flush with cash. It's healthy. But what happens when the spending starts to outpace the income? Well, then you get a deficit. The environment has to go into debt, and it has to start dipping into its savings just to cover the bills. This is when you can really start to see the strain on the system. And that brings us to maybe the most important part of this whole setup: the savings account. For pretty much any landscape, the soil is that crucial financial buffer. It's what helps it get through those lean times. And this savings account, it goes through a pretty predictable cycle every year. First, when it's wet, you get the recharge phase. That's when all the deposits are being made, filling up that savings account. Then, as things get a little drier, plants start making withdrawals. That's the utilization phase. But if those withdrawals go on for too long with no new deposits coming in, you hit deficiency. The savings account is empty. And that's when you see real problems, like stressed out plants and the beginning of a drought.
Now, let's zoom out and take this global, because not all of these water economies are run the same way. The balance of income and spending looks totally different depending on where you are in the world. And this table here, it just lays it out so clearly. You take a temperate climate, right? It's got a seasonal budget. It makes a profit in the winter, but runs into debt in the summer. A tropical rainforest, on the other hand, is just loaded all year round, always running a massive surplus. And then you've got polar regions, which operate on this incredibly tight budget, where both income and spending are super low. So you can think of a temperate climate as being like a really responsible seasonal worker. It knows it needs to save up everything it earns during the wet, low-cost winter to make it through the much more expensive, dry summer months.
Then you've got the tropical rainforest. This is your high-income earner. The income from rainfall is just so huge and so reliable that it can easily afford its high-spending lifestyle of constant growth. It always ends the year with a profit. And finally, the polar regions. These are the planet's extreme frugalists. They have very little income and spend almost nothing. But here's the catch. Nearly all of their savings are locked away in a frozen asset: ice, which is not exactly easy to spend. So what happens when a massive, unexpected shock hits the entire global economy all at once? Well, that's exactly what climate change is doing to these water budgets. It's a huge economic shock.
And here is the single most important thing to understand. Higher temperatures act like inflation. They just increase the cost of living for an ecosystem. A warmer world automatically means higher spending, because more water is just vanishing into the atmosphere.
I mean, just look at this chart. It shows it perfectly. The baseline cost of just existing, that evapotranspiration number, it's going up. It's simply becoming more and more expensive in water terms for the planet to get by.
So what we're facing is this new economic reality. Our income from rain and snow is becoming more erratic, kind of like getting less reliable paychecks. And at the exact same time, our daily expenses are going up. That combination makes balancing the budget, well, incredibly challenging. So, why should we care about this? Why does this kind of abstract idea of a water budget actually matter in the real world? Well,
Here's the bottom line.
It matters because basically everything depends on it. The health of our rivers, our risk of floods and droughts, the food we grow in our fields, and the water that comes out of our taps when we turn them on, all of it is controlled by this simple balance of income and spending.
And so that leaves us with a really critical question. In a world that's dealing with a huge economic shock from climate change, with costs rising and income becoming unpredictable, managing this balance is no longer just some interesting idea. It is one of the greatest challenges we're going to face. So how are we going to balance our planet's most important budget?